Divorce lawyers. What is the most insane way a spouse has tried to screw the other? So I married Seth when I was 24, and honestly, he seemed perfect at first. Good job, sweet, super protective of me. But looking back, maybe too protective. Like when we bought our house, he got obsessed with this whole home security thing. He kept talking about break-ins in our neighborhood and how we needed to be prepared for anything. Then he started building what he called a panic room in our basement. At first I thought it was kind of cool, like something rich people have in movies. He spent months down there installing soundproof walls, putting in a bed, even a little shower. The crazy part was the biometric lock. It only opened with his fingerprint or a code he programmed. I joked that it looked like a bunker, but Seth said he was just being careful about world events and stuff. I mean, the news was pretty scary back then, so I didn't think much of it. He even showed me how everything worked, said I should know in case of emergencies. Fast forward 5 years and our marriage was falling apart. Seth had gotten weird and distant, always on his phone, coming home late from work. Then I found out he was cheating with some girl from his office. I was devastated but also angry, so I filed for divorce. That's when Seth turned into a completely different person. He started hiding money, canceling credit cards, all that typical divorce stuff. But then 2 weeks before our court date, he told me the upstairs bathroom had some major plumbing issue and contractors were coming to fix it. He said the noise and mess would be terrible, so maybe I should sleep downstairs in the panic room for a few nights. It made sense, and I was so emotionally drained from everything that I just agreed. Plus, honestly, I wanted to avoid him as much as possible. So that night, I went down to the panic room with my pillow and phone charger. It was actually pretty comfortable, like a weird underground apartment. I fell asleep watching Netflix on my phone. The next morning, I tried to leave to make coffee upstairs. The door wouldn't budge. I thought maybe it was stuck, so I pushed harder. Nothing. Then I tried the emergency release button Seth had shown me. Still nothing. That's when I realized the digital display was showing a different code than usual. Seth had changed it remotely. I started panicking and called my divorce lawyer Rachel on my phone. Thank God I had cell service down there. She immediately called the police while I was freaking out on the phone. I kept thinking about how soundproof the room was, how no one would hear me screaming. 3 hours later, the police broke down the door with some kind of special equipment. I was crying and shaking when they got me out. The cops were asking Seth all these questions, and that's when Rachel explained what he'd been planning. Turns out, while I was locked in there, Seth had filed some emergency motion with the court claiming I had voluntarily moved to the panic room and abandoned our shared home. His argument was that since I willingly relocated myself to the basement, I'd given up my right to the main house. His plan was to make it look like I chose to leave so he could legally claim sole use of the house and stop paying spousal support. He probably figured I'd stay down there for a few days. Then when I finally came out, he'd act like I'd been living there by choice. But the police found text messages on Seth's phone where he'd been bragging to his girlfriend about finally clearing me out of the house. When his lawyer tried to argue in court that those texts were just jokes, the judge was not having it. The judge literally said she'd never seen anything so calculated and cruel in her 20 years on the bench. I ended up getting the house, more spousal support than I'd originally asked for, and a restraining order. Seth also lost visitation rights with our kids until he passed a psychological evaluation. And that panic room he'd spent so much time and money building, first thing I did was hire contractors to demolish it completely. Now it's a yoga studio where I do meditation every morning.